Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dee Dee. We are the hilarious outcome of opposing brains sharing a mutual desire to share knowledge and positive thinking about hemp and cannabis.
We are here to tear down the walls built by Big Pharma and other big companies that seek to keep the human race in fear and divided.
We are here to shatter the myths about hemp and cannabis and change the stigma of this amazing plant. Welcome to Hemp and Happiness with the Hemp Queen
and Emperor
podcast. Join us as we venture into this misunderstood and the unknown. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening to us and checking out our podcast. We super excited about today. We get to welcome Miss Katie Moyer from the Kentucky Hemp Association. She is our current president, and she is also a business owner, Kentucky Hempworks. And what is it that you're running for, Miss Katie?
Well, I am currently running for county judge executive in Christian County.
I couldn't remember the county where it was, but that's awesome. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I've got a lot of experience with working with local governments. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time in the 24 westernmost counties interviewing all the different elected officials on city and county level. And in doing so, I learned a lot of the problems that county and city government has and a lot of solutions as well. So I've got that experience. Like I understand the roles and responsibilities, but at the same time, I also have some experience fighting government. So I've kind of fought against government and big industries and big social media over the years. And I think that experience of working around government, but not necessarily being entrenched in government, will serve me well in this position.
I think it will too. You know, Katie, the hemp industry here in Kentucky owe Katie a huge, big thank you because she did something that I'm getting goose pimples just thinking about it, Katie. But me, you, and Jenny, we worked so hard to stop SB 170. And I know that you were there at Frankfurt fighting for our hemp rights here in Kentucky. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can all thank you for that. But if you want, I wouldn't mind you going back and kind of starting your, tell us how you got into the hemp business, like back good old days, back what, 2014? Cause you've been doing this as long as John and I have. Mm-hmm. I mean, so tell me.
Yeah. 2014 was the first year that we grew hemp here. It kind of goes back a little further because we had about 5 years where we were trying to pass a bill to legalize hemp and create a regulatory framework to actually grow it. And it wasn't until, so we passed a bill in 2013 and started working on regulations, but we kind of threw all those regulations out the window in 2014 when Congress passed the first iteration of the Farm Bill that included industrial hemp pilot projects. And so I was asked by our ag commissioner, James Homer, if I want to grow hemp. And I was like, well, of course I do. That's what we've been fighting for. But at the same time, I had no idea what to do. Didn't know where I was going to get seed. Didn't know how I was going to plant it or harvest it or anything. And we ended up ordering 250 pounds of seed from Italy, which was hijacked in Louisville by the DEA. So it made
these are seeds, y'all.
Customs in
Hemp
Chicago.
Seeds.
Yeah, these are seeds. And they were completely legitimate. I mean, they had all the paperwork, all the customs papers were in order. Everything was absolutely the way it needed to be to import any kind of seed into the country. And the DEA got wind of it. By the time it got to Louisville, they swooped in and hijacked it and that's when I thought I was going to prison for the first time in my life for importing 250 pounds of a controlled substance into the country. But our ag commissioner, who was absolutely kick ass. I don't know if I can say that on here, but he was
Yes, you
so
can.
kick ass. He swooped
And we're talking about,
in
and we're talking about
sued.
what was his name? This is who?
That's James Comer, who's
Thank you.
currently our congressman here in Western Kentucky. But he came in and sued the DEA in federal court, got our seeds back. And since we successfully had these certified seeds, we ended up sharing those with University of Kentucky, Murray State University, and other schools around the state. And we had enough to plant just a couple of acres of this Italian fiber crop. So harvested it, no clue what to do. But after we cut the stalks and kind of baled them up for fiber, my best friend and I went out and started digging roots out of the ground, and we used those roots to make topical salve. And there was no CBD, no THC, but these magical little terpenes in the roots that smell like carrots when they're fresh. By the way, if you've never smelled hemp roots, they kind of smell like fresh carrots. And but we used those to make a salve and started experimenting on anyone that stood still long enough for us to coat them in root salve. And after a few weeks of doing that, we kept getting phone calls from people who are like, man, this salve is helping so much. I need some more of it. I haven't taken a Loratab all week. I really want more of this stuff. And at that point, before hemp seed oil, before CBD oil, before we got into any of those things, we were making salve from roots and realized, like, okay, this is a business idea. We see a need, let's fill that need. And so that's kind of how Kentucky Hempworks originated. And then we invested in an oil press where we could cold press seed for the vegetable oil. And then we started investing in CBD extract from Commonwealth Extracts. And then that's sort of how we rounded out, using the entire plant. And we added on some products that we use the stalk for. So we're using every bit of the plant.
That's awesome. I remember when John brought home the, you call it salve. I changed it to balm just because people were like, they couldn't say salve. But I remember the first time I got to use it and I started using it. I was like, John, we need this. We have to have this all the time. He's like, yeah, I think we're going to do a little license thing and start making it. And I'm like, yes, it has been one of my favorite topicals. You didn't know that story, did you, Matt? No. Yeah, that recipe is from Katie Moyer, our famous balms and I do got my own scents to it, Katie. I had to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got,
totally.
I love that balm. And our customers love it. Everybody that uses it. The only complaint I've ever heard is that sometimes it can stain your clothing. That's just when you need a little Dawn.
Yeah.
A little Dawn. But
yeah,
I put it all over my face and everything.
Being completely naked when you use it.
Of course.
So you can reach everywhere.
Exactly. Use it for all the crevices and parts. That's one of our faves.
Yeah.
It's one of our
We
faves.
use it for anything that hurts, burns, or itches. And we found there's just nothing better when you have a sunburn, especially if you get it on there right away.
I actually burnt my thumb I was steaming some vegetables and burnt my thumb really bad. And I instantly put that on and it didn't even bubble up. So I was like, hell yeah. And anytime, that's the running joke now in the family. I'm like, did you put some balm on it? Did you put some salve on it? That's all you need. That's all you need. So yeah, we love that. We love that salve that you did. So bring me up to date. What are some of the issues that happened in 2016 with some of the stuff with the new Kentucky Department of Agriculture and the new commissioner. Is that when that happened?
We sort of started finding, with the original hemp program, it was very laid back, very hands off.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a new ag commissioner come in, and he was originally very willing to talk to us about hemp issues, and so we maintained a close dialogue. And there were some things that I felt like he kind of fixed right away, like adding an appeals process. So
Mm-hmm.
if you got denied for having a hemp license, then you could appeal it and get another shot. And what they found was most of the people who did get denied and appealed it then went on to get a hemp license. But we also sort of got into this mindset, and I'll tell you how my grower describes it. It's like if you want to fart in the field, you got to give them 2 weeks notice.
Yep.
And it became such a struggle to try to plan everything 2 weeks in advance so you
Mm-hmm.
could let the regulators know exactly what you are doing all the time. And it was just an example of big government,
Mm-hmm.
sort of a bureaucracy outgrowing what it really needed to do or was
Mm-hmm.
effective. And so yeah, that was extremely challenging. And then typically when you have government sort of outgrowing itself, then they're always trying to find more things to justify the size of that program. So, well, we're big, and we, have to be involved in everything. So we're gonna dictate how we test everything. We're gonna dictate how you harvest, and we're gonna dictate, like I said, it seemed like if you farted in the field, you had to give them
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks notice. And you just can't do that with agriculture. You don't
Right.
know what the weather's going to be like. You can guess, everybody makes educated guesses. You can watch the weather, but you don't know if a combine's going to break. You don't know if your setter's going to, have some random thing wrong with it. And it really, farming is it's a practice in risk management. You're constantly managing risk. You wake up that morning and you might have an idea of what you're going to do that day, but then you get to work and you're like, well, okay, I didn't expect to be doing plumbing work today, or doing mechanic work or maintenance on your machine. And those kinds of things set you back. So if you have to, try to plan out, yeah, I'm going to harvest 2 weeks from today. So I'm putting in my report that I'm going to harvest, and the ag department's going to come out and test it. But I don't know if they're going to be here on time. And if they don't, I can't harvest even if I'm ready now. And if they do, but then my tractor breaks down, or my picker, my combine breaks down, then I've got to get it fixed, and then I've got to put in another harvest report, and then they've got to test it again, and it just becomes this like exercise in just run in circles with big government. So we've seen a lot of that. And, I know that was just one or two small examples, but every year it seems like we're going back and trying to like tie up all these little loose ends and make things easier on hemp farmers and producers.
Do you think easier, because it actually seems a little bit harder now with some of the rules that are in place, as far as when did that happen? I think 17 or 18 when they changed it or even 19 maybe. After the 2018 Farm Bill, they switched it to you couldn't have the first extract because it was over the 0.3% being sent to another processor to where they could refine it. So some magic had to happen that year, didn't it? I don't remember what year that was though, Katie. But we still can't ship it out of state. I mean, right? Unless that got changed.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of these little nitpicky annoyances that just really are not helpful. That example that you were talking about with the extract, you know, when you concentrate extract, obviously it's going to be above 0.3% THC.
Right.
And then the argument was, well, that's a controlled substance. You can't move it around. You can't sell it. And I mean, it took us over a year and a half of trying to convince the ag department to change that.
Right.
And it wasn't until, you know, big like public spectacle of calling the ag commissioner out publicly that anything actually happened. And and then, you know, once that happened, it was like, snap your fingers, everything's fixed. Oh yeah, just
fill out a form.
you know, you just have to let us know if you're gonna transport it and tell us where you're transporting it to. And
but it's like it's still only in
do that
state
a year ago,
right? But it's still only in state.
yeah.
Like they can't sell it out of state still. Even though hemp has been removed as a Schedule 1. But hemp has been removed from a Schedule 1.
Yeah. In all 50 states.
Yeah.
And it has been legalized on the state level in every single state in the country. There's not a state that we have to be concerned about. Every single state took it upon themselves to legalize hemp. Right. And we still can't ship it out of state.
But other states can. It's just here in Kentucky.
Oh, sure.
And we're supposed to be the leaders in the hemp industry, and yet they have these kind of rules. And not even to mention the smokable flower, which we need to get into that too. But our Department of Agriculture has actually stifled some of that growth on our farmers and our processors because of some of these rules.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Katie, in your role, should you be elected as judge executive, how can you exact change with this?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm a big proponent of governing from the ground up. You know, I think I've worked on the grassroots in a lot of different issues, including this one. And you'd be surprised how much counties can accomplish on the state level by leading by example. So if we propose, let's say, a resolution encouraging hemp production, maybe a smokable flower or craft hemp flower, microgreens, things like that, or potentially something like Louisville did with the lowest level enforcement policy. Those types of things, they catch on. And so one county passes it, then starts talking to another county, and then they pass it, another county passes it. And then those counties go to Frankfurt and they say, hey, look, we've done this in our county. It's been great for our county. The economy is stronger. We have less crime. Law enforcement happier because they're not chasing around people for a joint. And then that becomes a major factor in how legislators vote, because one person to a legislator represents like 10 votes at least. So if you say, well, I've got 75,000 people in my county, which is roughly what we have here. And I go to that legislator and I'm like, man, 86% of the people in this county support this issue. They're like, holy crap, that's a lot of votes. And all I want to do is get reelected. You know, that's what most legislators are thinking about their next election. So if you can come to them and say, you know, we have this many people in your district that support this issue, they will almost undoubtedly fall in line or go along with your opinions on that issue. And some of them can be stubborn, and we've seen that in the Senate this year. They've been, well, not just this year either.
Right.
Like with the medical marijuana issue, you know, you got one or two people in the Senate just saying, look, we're never going to change our minds about this. It doesn't matter if over 90% of Kentuckians support this issue. We're never going to change our mind.
So how do we get them
but
out
for
of
the most
office? How do we get those people out of office then, Katie, if they're not representing what the people want? How do we get them out of office?
That is a really good question. I would look at, you remember Greg Stumbo?
Mm-hmm.
He was the House leader. He was the Speaker of the House, and I never thought that anybody would ever beat him. It was like the people in his district were like, they were like in an abusive relationship, and they just kept voting for him, and like going back to him. And I kind of feel like that's how it is in Stiver's district. You know, he's not really representing the will of the people.
Right.
I mean, he's in Eastern Kentucky, where we've got some of the highest rates of, you know, prescription drug abuse, painkillers, opiate abuse,
Heroin.
and and what really is it doing for his constituents to keep them from having an alternative that's non-addictive and non-habit forming, that is actually truly healthy, not just masking symptoms or helping you to get by, but truly improving your health? And he's like, just go drink some bourbon if you need to relax.
Right.
Like,
poison. By all means, put the
sorry,
poison in your body.
I don't know what it's going to take. Yeah.
Well, but I like what you said about, you know, essentially the small acts philosophy. One voice counts for 10 votes. And this agenda, our agenda, is gaining speed, gaining popularity. You can't, it's impossible to keep it out of the press now, with a favorable opinion of hemp, and a favorable opinion of the industry. Even though there's bad sides to the industry, there's bad sides to anything. The positivity is becoming overwhelming. So I really like what you said there, and I think that's how, the only way we can beat it is to continue to share a voice, to continue to vote for people like you, who can then turn represent the best interest of the public, and eventually that 1% becomes overwhelmed, when the voice is too strong to not be heard.
Exactly. That leads us into what we worked so hard in this past legislative session, because we've talked about this on our podcast about Delta 8 and the other designer cannabinoids that are coming out on the market. And while
Delta 8 is not a designer.
Exactly. And I was just getting there. We're not into those ones that are kind of on the questionable side as to being synthetic. Delta 8 is not. And we worked our asses off to keep it legal here in the state. And that was one thing that really got me. And I was, even though it managed to get out of the Senate, I was so overwhelmingly happy and just relieved that we managed to stop it in the House. And I know that had a lot to do with the lobbying you did, the lobbying that the Kentucky Hemp Association did, the lobbying and calls that all of our customers made, and our friends, and just everybody, that they all came together to try to stop this, because this bill, as it was written, was not pro hemp. It would have actually destroyed a lot that we had going on, and it would have actually decimated the hemp industry with the rules that they had about the naturally occurring Delta 8, because it is naturally occurring in that plant. But the limits that they put on it, I mean, I have CBD that has higher Delta 8 percentages in it naturally. Like, what the hell, man? It's a natural cannabinoid. You can't just all of a sudden start coming in and doing this. And I get the fear, but if we had the regulations and our Kentucky Department of Agriculture let our Kentucky processors make it, then we could have it tested and we would know how safe it is. But instead, retailers like us, we're left to buy it from out of state. I don't like doing that. You know, I'm a big proponent for Kentucky and Kentucky hemp and our Kentucky processors and our Kentucky farmers.
So, Katie, for our listeners out there that would like to make a difference and like to contribute to the cause, what would you recommend for them?
Well, so we're still involved, obviously, in some legal battle over Delta 8. That's not something that's cheap. It's something we've been fundraising for since, August of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's potentially going to be something appealed and we'll have to continue to raise money for. But what we're hoping is that we can do one more fundraising push for the Delta 8 legal fees, and then settle it in the legislature so we don't have to continue appealing and go to court and continuing to go with it through all the legal stuff. So the best way, I think, to support the Delta 8 issue is to go to keepda.legal.com and donate using the PayPal link there. But also, getting in touch with your legislators, your representative on the state level, your state senator, even if you don't agree with them on everything, develop a relationship with them. Stop in when they're at an event out in the public and introduce yourself, and then follow up with a thank you email. And then the next time they see you at an event, it's likely that they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember you. And once you start building that relationship with your legislator, you get to the point where you've got their cell phone number and they've got yours and they respond to your emails. You can be so effective from grassroots. There are huge things that you can do in Frankfort just by having a relationship with your one state senator or your one House rep. And I've gotten to the point from over the years where I've got relationships with a lot of people's state reps and a lot of people's state senators. And that's extremely helpful when, for example, we were in Frankfort this year pushing for Delta 8. And, one legislator's like, and I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm going to support you on this. So obviously donating to the fundraising is the most important thing. It's like our highest priority right now. But something that's a constant underlying theme is developing a relationship with your state legislators. That's something that's going to help in the future, because Delta 8's not going to be the last battle that we have on cannabis in general. There's always going to be a new fire to put out, a new fight. And having those relationships in place makes the fight a lot easier.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well said.
But
well said.
Donating money, that's our priority right now. Keep D8 legal.
We will make sure we add that to the podcast so people know for sure. Yeah. Definitely. So what's in store? I mean, I know you're the president of the Kentucky Hemp Association right now. I know we are obviously a member as well, and we're working to keep growing that. And I think we've managed to do a pretty good job with getting a lot of retailers into that association so we can all work together. I think that is the most important part, because we as a society and as hemp connoisseurs, we need to stick together. That is so important. And I think, there's still stores getting rated for these products. There are still sheriff's office going in and saying, well, it's illegal. It's marijuana. It tested positive. And my argument every time is the fact that it's going to field test THC. You need to send it to labs for the percentage. And I just think that it's all about educating our sheriff's departments. A lot. I mean, I know we already have our temporary injunction still in place, which is great, that says Delta 8 is legal. But a lot of these smaller counties and the sheriffs, they're still going out and raiding stores. And that's the one thing that I think we all need to work together to get that stopped. I think that is, that just puts a bad taste in a lot of retailers' mouths if they're still doing it. So,
yeah. Well, you heard it here.
Absolutely. I mean, why would you want to open a store in Kentucky if you have that fear?
Exactly.
Yeah. So keep D8 legal. Mm-hmm. Talk to your legislatures.
Exactly. Yeah. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. I am pretty proud of you. I think you are going to do an excellent job as the next judge exec in Christian County. You go, girl. You get them. We need more people like you representing us little folk in all the counties. So thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for us, for sure.
Well, so thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Fingers crossed. We got 2 weeks left. So, but yeah, keep d8legal.com. That'll help take a little something off my mind so I can focus on the race.
Exactly. Thanks, Katie. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And
we'll be rooting for you.
Heck yeah. And thanks everybody again for listening to us. That was Katie Moyer. She's the current president of the Kentucky Hemp Association and running for the Christian Judge Executive office there. So definitely give her some kudos. And thanks again for listening to us. Follow us on all social medias. If you've got questions and you want answers and you even, have an idea, a topic for us, send us an email at info@502hemp.com. We would love to get your feedback for sure, but you can find us on all the major platforms. We even have our own YouTube channel. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok sometimes. But you can definitely drop us a note. Let us know how things are going. And we appreciate you all listening. Have a good one. Keep it hempy out there.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Hemp and Happiness with the Hemp Queen
and Emperor.
Keep your mind ever open and expanding. Like, subscribe, review, follow us, all the good stuff. And
keep it hempy out there.